welcome to a new edition of Cracking the Cryptic on Monday the 16th of October. You can see from the grid that I've got in front of me that I've filled in just some of the answers today. I think what I wanted to cover is some crossword-ese. So there will be, I think this is more a video aimed at relative newcomers to the Times crossword, but there might be some stuff in here that even more experienced solvers might find interesting. Let's just take a look at one across. The Reverend Spooner was sort of become famous and is used in crosswords always to indicate a reversal of the initial letters of a phrase or saying. So here, whenever you see this, you can see coastal feature, well, that's the definition, and then Spooner's crew went under. So you're looking for some expression that would mean a crew went under, and in this case it's band sank, and we reverse the initial letters to give sandbank. So that's how this clue works. It's a relatively common thing. I would guess probably one crossword a week will contain a Spoonerism. So keep an eye out for them. They're not normally places to start. I would suggest you almost always need a letter. They're quite hard to, I don't know, well, I find them quite hard to get my head round and to solve cold. Now let's look at this one. This is, I suppose, an unusual word. I mean, there'll be some people who are familiar with this word, but it's basically a type of organ stop. So here it's just clued as stop, and yeah, you can get to it from the wordplay, except you're left with a, if you don't know the word, if you genuinely don't know the word and have never heard or seen it before, you're left with sort of an unpleasant choice between diapason and diamason, because you have to put a parent in the middle, and a parent could be a ma or a pa. So you've got a reversal of aid for benefit, plus pa or ma, plus son for child. Just one of those many words, I suppose, that one just has to learn, or at least, even if you don't know what it means, just know it exists. So you could take a sort of Scrabble-like approach to some of these words, I think. But yeah, not easy. 23 across. Well, this is the one that I think is very, very unusual. I don't remember the last time I saw US as an abbreviation in a puzzle for worthless. I think it's from unserviceable, which is an abbreviation for, or US is an abbreviation for unserviceable. But that is really very unusual. I can't remember having ever seen it before, which shows how unusual it is. So the way this clue breaks down is quite tricky. You've got worthless, which is the US, information about first. So that's saying reverse gen, which is a word for information that you sometimes see in crosswords, at the beginning of the US, to give negus, I think that's how you pronounce that, for King of Ethiopia, question mark. Now, again, this is some fairly exotic knowledge here. I mean, if you look up negus in the dictionary, you'll normally find I think it's some sort of drink. That's how I know it. But it is also a word for an Ethiopian king. But yeah, it's a pretty difficult answer, and especially when you see two of the answers that it's crossing with here. So we've got it crossing with Egeria and Essene, 19 and 20 down. So you could be solving this with only one or none of the letters. Yeah, that's really hard. That's really hard. I don't know whether anyone suffered with the southeast corner of this grid, but I can well imagine that they might have done. Not simple, but let's keep going in order anyway. So 7 down. Yeah, I've listed this one just because I wanted to refer to the heather that's mentioned in the clue. Whenever you see heather in a crossword clue, you can be almost certain it's either going to be referring to Erica, which is a type of heather, or Ling. I mean, it's more common to see Ling, L-I-N-G, because it's so useful for wordplay for setters. So, you know, looking at this clue, I could see I was looking for a condiment, 8 letters. I then was immediately thinking, you know, could I put Ling at the end of an 8-letter word to give a condiment? Couldn't really see how that might be working, but then I remembered Erica, cut the end off that for the mostly used, and then turmeric is relatively straightforward after that. So it's termed as a homophone for T-R-M at the start, which is an appellation or a name. Then 8 down, I wanted to mention as well, there's at least 2 bits of crossword-ese in here. So an old actor being a tree is something you do see from time to time. And then at the start you've got with house in Kent, or Kent, because it's a southeastern county in England. If something's in Kent, it's almost always in the southeast, so that's what's going on there. And house, that can be abbreviated to HO. So there's sort of at least 2 bits of crossword-ese in the wordplay. And then we've got one doing a stretch in Oxford as the definition. So again, if you see Oxford in crossword clues, immediately be thinking of shoes. Oxford being a type of shoe. And yeah, you won't go far wrong. Now, 11 down, intermittent. During time in school, so that's in term at the start, Italian wines produced. Well, Italian is just being abbreviated to IT there, and then wine for tent is another bit of crossword-ese. It's the only time I think I've ever seen or heard wine being used as a synonym for tent. I think it's a Spanish wine, but you do see it from time to time in crosswords, so just something to be aware of. What else? I wanted to gnome. If you see that in a crossword clue, it's almost never referring to your the thing you've got sitting by your garden pond. It's almost always being referred to, you know, a financier or a banker. You get Swiss gnomes and you know, Swiss bankers, etc. And so this clue is quite nice actually. It's fancier around the outside of in for at home, which is another piece of crossword-ese. So this crossword certainly feels like it was, you know, it was one for the more experienced solver. Now let's just cover these last 2, 19 and 20 down. 19, I'm not sure I like this clue. So she gave advice is the definition, and it's referring, I think, to the nymph Egeria, who she was something to do with Roman emperors. I think she advised one of the early Roman emperors. So that's how the definition's working. And then you've got say for e.g. Well, that's fair enough. About climbing. So about is re, and that's climbing, so that's reversed. So that gives us e.g.er. And then we have in alpine peaks, which is, I think, referring to the first letters of in and alpine. Now, it is a matter for discussion whether a word has a peak. I know, I remember getting a letter from probably the best clue writer there's ever been, who writes under the pseudonym Saber for the Listener crossword and other publications, in which he'd had to remind himself to be a bit stricter in terms of his own clue writing, because I think he'd used roof to define the first letter of a word, and he was reminding himself that words don't have roofs. And similarly here, I'm not sure referring to peaks is really referring to the initial letters, but someone will probably correct me. But anyway, that's how that clue worked. Very difficult, and some unusual wordplay. And then 20 down, ascetic is the definition there, and then French art. Well, this is another piece of crossword-ese you see from time to time, and I think the way it works is it's referring to the form of, you know, you are in French. So if you were to, you know, say, you know, you are, I don't know, great in French, you art great might be a way of saying that, and art would be es in certain forms of the verb. So this is what's happening there. Very, I suppose, elliptical, but it is something you see. So if you see French art, you can basically assume you're looking at the letters es, and that will help you. Certainly would help you here, because you then got to get a 5-letter word for an environment, which is scene, S-C-E-N-E, losing its final letter of academic, so S-E-N-E, to give the whole thing a scene, which is the name of an ascetic. So yeah, that bottom right corner is extremely difficult in this puzzle, in my opinion, and well done to those of you who managed to solve it. Some incredible times. I saw Jason James had solved this puzzle in 5 minutes, which is, I think, absolutely incredible. So especially well done to him. We'll see you again tomorrow for another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.